A man stumbles out of his local tavern late one evening, his pockets empty and his breath reeking of cheap ale. He begins to make his way home, his legs wobbling at the effort, and that's when he happens upon a split in the road. He can either take the main road, which is long and bumpy with plenty of potholes, or he can take a shortcut through the woods along the local hunter's path. Whether it be tree roots or potholes, the man figures his face will become well acquainted with the ground no matter which path he takes, so he might as well take the shorter path. The trees block out the moon as the man stumbles his way through the dark path. He can just barely see where he's going as he struggles to keep to the well-worn path the hunters trek day to day. Then suddenly, something catches his foot. He trips, falling face first into the dirt. He scrambles to his feet, his heart racing, and he feels a warm, wet sensation dripping down his chin. He had opened a gash along the side of his face, and a light trickle of blood began streaming from his cheek, dripping onto the ground. Then he hears it. A flock of bats? Why does it sound so close? He doesn't have time to react as 4 sharp legs latch onto his back, and he feels a sharp stabbing pain in his neck. Staring back at him, its monstrous yellow eyes gleam with delight as it drains its fill from the man's veins. He screams as he tries to yank the creature from his back, but every tug just rips and tears his flesh more and more as the beast clamps down harder. After several minutes of struggling, the creature releases the man, only for 2 more to take its place, and the poor man's muffled cries for help are drowned out by the batting of the swarm's wings. The sun is barely peeking over the horizon when 2 hunters discover the aftermath. A desiccated, bone-dry husk laying in the dirt, covered in puncture wounds all over its body, its mouth agape, as if still screaming for help. At first glance, the Stirge may not seem like the most threatening beast. These little bastards look as if some mad wizard combined a bat, a bird, and a mosquito. They stand on average about 1 foot in length from nose to tail and are covered in feathers that range in color from red to reddish brown. They have a wingspan of 2 feet and have 4 legs with sharp claws and a powerful grip. But their most obvious feature is a long, sharp proboscis, with which they feed on the blood of creatures. Blood is the only form of nourishment that a Stirge will consume. While they will feast on many large mammals such as cattle or horses, many seem to have a preference for humanoid blood. Stirges have an animal-like intelligence, but tried and tested methods of hunting their unsuspecting prey. A single Stirge is little more than a nuisance. Unfortunately, they are rarely alone. Stirges nest in colonies with a population of about 30. These groups, or thirsts as they are called, will hunt together in search of that warm nectar they so deeply crave, and they won't have much trouble finding their prey. Not only can Stirges see in pitch-black darkness, but they can also detect the warmth of a living body and have an incredible sense of smell. This makes hiding from a swarm of Stirges incredibly difficult. Once they've found you, they will attempt to latch onto your body with their razor-sharp fangs, and attempt to stab their needle-like proboscis into any exposed flesh they can. Their proboscis is coated with a clear liquid that acts like an anticoagulant to make it all the easier to drain your life from your body. The creature will grip you for dear life until they have drunk their fill, at which point they will detach and fly back to their nest to digest their meal. However, even if you were to survive being drained by the swarm, your torment would not end there. For by the very nature of how these creatures feed, draining blood from one creature to the next, storing it within their bodies have become a fertile farming ground for many horrible diseases. Colonies of Stirges can be found in a variety of environments. They can be found in forests, underground, in caves, in ruins, or in marshes. They tend to prefer establishing themselves near a plentiful supply of blood, like towns or farms. However, they tend to migrate and keep their nests in remote and secluded areas. This often leads to a colony leaving before their nest can be located and a hunting party is mounted. If you do intend to hunt down and wipe out a Stirge colony, there are some methods that'll help you put the beast down. Firstly, experienced rangers and druids are able to recognize the signs of a swarm's movements and use that information to track back to their nests. While this is one of the safer methods to find a sturge swarm, it will be one of the more expensive. Another method would be to bait the swarm. Leaving a few cows near their suspected hunting grounds will serve two purposes. Once the sturges have feasted, they will retreat to their homes fat and happy, making them easier to tail through the environment. Upon storming the hive, instead of an angry swarm ready to pounce, you will instead find the sturges too lethargic to fight back. It takes a sturge around 3 days to fully digest the blood in their stomach, and until they do, they will be unable to move, much less fight back. The final and most likely method would be to use yourself as bait. The swarm is bound to discover you before you discover them. They will swarm you and attempt to drain you for all you're worth. Do not try to pry them off. Whether it be with a blade or your fist, killing the sturge as it attempts to feed off you will be the most effective way to remove them. They will rush to swarm the first sign of blood they see, often crowding in desperation to get a taste of that crimson nectar. However, once the swarm realizes you are too dangerous to feed on, they will warn each other to run and avoid you. At this point, you can give chase, but you run the risk of them vacating their nests to avoid your justifiable rage. There are many unexpected rewards to be had from wiping out a sturge nest. Aside from any reward money from any nearby towns, sturges themselves offer a variety of treasures. The anticoagulant on their proboscis can be harvested and be sold for a tidy sum to practicing healers. The proboscis themselves can be carefully fashioned into needle-sharp weapons, popular amongst goblins. Their bile can be collected and used as a biological weapon, as the diseased fluids are harmful to any who dare cross you. Sturges even have edible meat at the base of their wings. The meat must be removed and cleaned very carefully to avoid being tainted, and it must be consumed within a day of the sturge being slain. I hear that the meat is delightful, tasting like tender pork, and is served well with a hearty slice of toast. And finally, you are bound to come across young sturges, also known as sturgelings. Sturgelings can be kept and bred in captivity. Some wizards will choose to have one as their familiar, while others will keep a swarm as a trap for unsuspecting victims. I've even heard some tales of adventuring parties keeping one as a pet. So as you sit and relax by the fire after a long day of adventuring, be sure to check your body to be sure that there are no open or bleeding wounds. After all, why tempt fate by ringing the dinner bell?